This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. And
hey Kevin, Jesse here. Super pumped about the season getting going again here. Tired of using the Minnesota mantra of, well, we'll get there next year. Lots of things need to go right as far as health and production, and I agree with Brett big time that the youngsters need to get a significant chance to play on a top three line. Lastly, what's the over-under on the amount of times Russo talks about your candles in the press box? Thanks, and go wild.
Yeah, amen. That's more of a Dan Barrero thing, but they're both infatuated with how my area smells. If you don't like it, don't come into it. It's really that easy. Speaking of America's favorite blogger, let's go to St. Louis. Michael Russo of The Athletic and theathletic.com. What I love about having you on, Russo, is that Brett Blakemore usually waits till the last second to call the guest, and I'm always worried that we're going to get him on time. He calls you like 10 minutes early so he can have a pre-show with you.
No, he and I had a great conversation waiting for you. No shots, I guess. I thought the most impressive part of that talkback was the guy saying that Brett Blakemore made great points.
Seriously, doesn't happen often.
Oh my goodness! Well, we've been talking. Go ahead.
All right, my first question is Pat Micheletti on vacation? Like, what's going on? Why am I the guest?
No, I had Pat on as well. Believe me, Molesky calls them lifeboats. I've had lifeboat after lifeboat after lifeboat, including Joe O'Donnell, including Pat Micheletti. We're going to finish up the show with Cal Clutterbuck. But how do you start a brand new season without Michael Russo of The Athletic and theathletic.com? We had to squeeze you in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And mostly because
you got to ask Clutter, I was talking to Nino the other day, and Nino was talking about like when he was traded to Minnesota, how nervous he was that he didn't know if it was going to be a long-term thing. And I saw a podcast with Clutter recently where he basically said the same thing. When he got to the Islanders, he was just freaking out, and then you look at him, turned it into an entire career there, and now he's doing TV there. It's pretty impressive.
Without a doubt, and I very much look forward to that conversation. I was going to have Joe Smith on instead, but he's busy. He's the one that actually works in your tandem. So I know that you had some free time, so I know I'd be able to squeeze you in.
That is very true. So Joe, I feel bad. They sent, I even was thinking as I was walking over here, where they sent two of us to St. Louis for some ungodly reason. And Joe's now sitting in Montgomery's press conference and is about to go in the Blues room. So it's like they sent two of us to St. Louis so he could work and I could do radio. Yeah, well, we definitely appreciate it, and it's an opportunity to plug The Athletic and theathletic.com. You guys got all the best writers and all the great stuff. I highly recommend it to anybody out there at theathletic.com. Your feelings coming into this brand new season. We've been talking duckies and bunnies, rainbows and unicorns. Everyone's feeling good going into game number one. How about you as you cover this team? I mean, I'm excited about real hockey, and that's for sure. I will say I'm a little nervous about the team and how they're going to start. I don't know. I mean, you have this great start to camp, and you're all excited about these young guys, and next thing you know, they end camp, and they have a really, in my eyes, strange third line with Trenyon Hartman and Johansson, and then you have Marcus Lino, who I love as a player, but all of a sudden he's your second line left wing. Next to it, Tarasenko is just trying to reinvigorate his career, and you have, a really, again, weird fourth line with Ogren, who is honestly only in the lineup because he's more experienced than Yurov, but Yurov outperformed him in camp. And then, a rookie making his NHL debut, and it just seems like they're an injury away from significant issues here. So I'll just be curious to see how the lines are tonight and how quickly John has to go away from them and maybe scramble things up. I'm excited to watch Zeev tonight in his regular season NHL debut. But same thing, as comfortable as he has looked with Jared Spurgeon, that is a real undersized second pair. And so against a big, bad Blues team, how long can you go with that before you might have to split it up? So I just, it's just, I guess my big thing is you have this long training camp and all of a sudden we come to practice Monday and everything is just messed up or changed. And And so I'm just curious to see how it all works and how long John sticks with it.
And game one doesn't mean that this is going to be what happens going forward. It could all change within the first shift, let alone the first game. But that being said, are you a little disappointed from your vantage point that Ogren or Urov didn't do more to claim that top six role so Marcus Foligno could be better suited in that third or fourth line role where you know that he's going to excel? Now you almost feel like he might be a little bit out of position.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I am a little disappointed, but, I'm also trying to remember that they're 21 years old. You got a kid in Daniel Urov who's just coming over from Europe for the first time. I thought he was really, really good defensively in camp, progressed a bit, but then they threw him in Chicago against an NHL lineup, and he wasn't very good, and that is probably why he is out of the lineup tonight. I thought Ogren was going to do more. He was so good early in camp with Eriksson Ek and Tarasenko, but there's as somebody I respect a lot says, it's very different at 11 a.m. than it is at 7 p.m. And at 7 p.m. throughout camp, he was not good. He didn't produce. He didn't hit guys on the forecheck. He needs to be much, much better if he's going to be on this roster and not down back in Iowa. So I think that he has gotten a little bit of a wake-up call from the coaches here a little bit. But, this is not, and Brett could attest to this, I am the guy that wants them to go with the kids and I know what you're getting from a Marcus Johansson and players like that. Like, let's see what Ogren and Urov can do. But the one thing I will say is John gave them every opportunity in camp, in top six roles, in middle six roles, and neither of them produced. I mean, Ogren had 7 shots in 5 games, 0 points, and Urov had 7 shots in 6 games, and 1 assist. That in the opener, that, by the way, was an accidental assist. It was an attempted, doorstep, essentially tap in that he missed, and then Hinostroza set up Trenyon for the goal in Winnipeg. So, I expected more from both of them, but I think Urov is still going to be a really good player. Everything is new to him. He's still living in a hotel. I said this on the podcast the other night. I was shooting the breeze with him at his stall, and I'm like, "How's the hotel?" And he just looked at me like almost sad, and he goes, "The windows don't open." But it was just this funny line that it just dawns on you, this kid is in North America really for the first time, and he's in this strange place, and he's trying to find his footing. His English is still a work in progress. He brings his laundry every day to the morning skate for Tarasenko to bring home and do. I mean, everything is new to him. So I think the hockey is gonna come. But I think some of us sometimes, even as long as I've covered this league, take it for granted about how difficult it is. His family can't come over because of visa issues, obviously, because he's from Russia. He's got a significant other that can't come over until December, stuff like that. And so it's really, I think, tough for him right now.
Yeah, I agree. No matter what happens, even over the course of this year, the future's bright for both of them. But by contrast, what they didn't do in the preseason and during training camp, Hunter Haight did. Despite being the last cut there at the end of training camp, he gets the first call up when Nico Sturm and you and Joe report that he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Look at this opportunity for Hunter Haight there, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. He's going to make his NHL debut tonight, most likely.
Yes, most likely. And, I'll also be interested to see with Jonas Brodin, but Hunter Haight was great. He had a really good rookie year last year in Iowa, scored 20 goals. And, and we all know about how tough of a year last year was Iowa. And maybe he can help ignite a Liam Ogren tonight because the two of them had great chemistry as line mates last year in Iowa when Ogren went down there and was basically a point-a-game player. So I'm really excited to see him. He's fast. He's got this shoot-first mentality. And he's somebody that, honestly, I could see, because he was so good in camp, you can move him up in the lineup. Let's even just say, he could play wing. I mean, you could put him on his offside, even on that second line if you're John Hines. My guess is they would go back to the well and go Marcus Johansson first. But I am looking forward to seeing him play tonight, and he was definitely a bright spot in camp. Scored that great tying goal in Winnipeg, scored that awesome goal as well at home in the one preseason game. So, he definitely, came close to earning a spot and really, unfortunately for Nico Sturm, it is looking like he's going to need back surgery or has had back surgery. We'll hopefully get an update, today, but he's going to be out for a while. So, this is something else Bill Guerin's going to have to really pay attention to here, because suddenly they're, with Zuccarello out too, they just are, as much as we want to talk about the Wild's improved depth this year in cap space, they might have to, make some sort of external move. And the reason why I say that too is I know for a fact that on Monday, when they got the word about Nico Sturm, they called up Jack Roslovic, offered him $1 million deal. He said he thought he could get $2.5 million, declined it, and next thing you know, he signed last night with Edmonton for $1.5 million. But just the fact that the Wild felt right away that they needed to address the situation just tells me that they're going to be really scouring the marketplace for a trade if these young kids don't show that they at least are ready right now.
No Mats Zuccarello, no Nico Sturm, and we thought no Jonas Brodin. John Hines wasn't ready to tip his hand when I had him on 2 and a quarter hours ago, but I was there at practice with you yesterday. We both had our face pressed right up against the glass, and we saw Jonas Brodin skating on a pair, no contact jersey on, just skating like a regular guy. I think he's poised to make his season debut tonight in game number 1. What does your spidey sense tell you?
I honestly don't know. I would think that it would be more doubtful. But you're right. I mean, the one thing about Jonas Brodin, we've seen him miss 2 months before, get one practice in play. Sometimes we've even seen him hop into the lineup without a practice. He's a rare breed from that standpoint. The only thing I'll say is that, the St. Louis, and look, he's going to have to play at some point, right? The LA Kings, the Columbus Blue Jackets are all hard-hitting teams. But to throw him in tonight, where he hasn't had a ton of contact lately in camp, he's really started to get it in the last couple days. It's very different when all of a sudden you have Braden Chen coming at you on a forecheck. I'll be interested, but look, he's going to have to play at some point. The fact that they didn't put him on injured reserve tells you that he's definitely close. Because they could have easily put him on IR and brought up another player. And so the fact that they didn't want to have him miss the first week of the season tells you that at a minimum, he's if he doesn't play tonight, he could be playing at home. So I think it's a great sign for this team. And then I'll be interested to see what they do with the blue line. Do they slowly put him in and play him third pair minutes, which will not be something that is long term? Or do you throw him right away with, say, a Brock Faber, keep a Blam with Jared Spurgeon, and maybe drop a Jake Middleton onto the third pair with a Bogosian or David Juracek? There's a lot of options that Jonas Brodin would bring that allows you to deepen up your blue line.
Talking to Michael Russo of The Athletic and theathletic.com. A lot of the conversation, not only in the Twin Cities, Michael, but around the National Hockey League, was the windfall that Kirill Kaprizov fell into. $17 million a year for the next 8 seasons. Craig Leopold, Bill Guerin didn't let that big fish slip away. But then contrasted right after the fact, you got McDavid signing Eichel, Kyle Connor, all these guys for not peanuts, but significantly less than $17 million a year. What do you say to the detractors out there that say the Wild overpaid for number 97?
Yeah, I think I think what I would say to detractors is the alternative. As we saw, you just mentioned those 3 guys signed, so now it's thinning out the market next summer. And if you lose Kirill Kaprizov, who are you getting? If Adrian Kempe goes to market, which I'm not convinced he's gonna, are you going to have to pay him $15 just to get him here because you're going to now have to compete against 31 other teams to get him? Same thing with Alex Tuck or Martin Necas or Artemi Panarin or something like that. So that would be what I would say. But the only other thing is and I don't begrudge the Wild for doing it at all. Okay, they had to get it done. Everybody's situation is different. But I do think that it makes Kirill look, a little bit hypocritical here. The other guys were willing to play ball. And, they made their money, but they also gave more team-friendly contracts. And, and Kirill and his camp, and he's the boss of that camp, turned down a $16 million deal. Then when the Wild offered $17 million, they had the audacity to counter, and the Wild held firm there, and they gave him 17. So, I don't think it makes Kirill look overly great. And he's got to look his teammates in the eye for a long time, knowing that, he's going to be the highest paid player in the NHL. So you better deliver. But right now he's making, $10 million more than Matt Boldy, who's not that much of an inferior player to him. That's for sure. So, look, the cap's going to go up. The hope is that eventually that the market resets itself where essentially it catches up to Kirill. But I think that this definitely puts a lot of pressure on him now that he's got to, he's got to deliver. And look, the Wild could say they have a ton of cap space still to go after big fish, but they'd have a lot more cap space if he had taken $13 or $14 million than 17.
I've asked this question to Micheletti, to Joe, and even Brett Blakemore, and I think all four of us agree, setting the over-under at 45 goals and 100 points for Kaprizov. We're all taking the over with the caveat that he plays 70 games this season. Do you subscribe to this list?
Yeah, I mean, if he's healthy, he's doing that, I would think, especially if you could stand that line. But as I mentioned, we'll see about that line, too, because, again, with Zuccarello out until November, at least, at some point they might, especially on the road, and they got a lot of road games coming up, have to maybe separate Boldy and him and put Boldy on the second line just to kind of even it out. But I definitely think, Kirill, if he is healthy, is, got 50 goals, 100-point ability easily, especially if he gets in that 70 to 75 game range.
Couple of last ones for you. I know you got to get to the morning skate. Wild taking the ice this morning. They're in St. Louis, and they'll drop the puck on game one of the 82-game grind starting tonight. 6:45 pregame. Puck drops just after 7 o'clock right here on FM 100.3 The Fan. This Central Division, the Wild and the Blues are a part of it. It's going to be a dogfight once again. Michael, I look at Dallas. I look at Colorado. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot separating either of them. I think they're both going to be very good. But how do you see the Central Division shaking out?
Yeah, I think Dallas, the interesting thing about this division is I think everybody has taken a little bit of a step back, except maybe Colorado. I like that they've re-signed Brock Nelson. I think him being there a full year is going to help them, rather than transitioning for the first time being traded in the middle of, at the deadline last year. But I think Winnipeg is not nearly as deep. I don't think Dallas is as deep, but I think they're still probably the team to beat. And I think Utah is going to be better. And I'm telling you, I know that Nashville got off to the horrible start last year, but, maybe they have a sort of a reset. Everything's about the start in this league. And last year we witnessed it with the Wild. They got off to an incredible start, were tied for the most points in the league in mid-December, and they made the playoffs on a tiebreaker. A lucky, miraculous tiebreaker scored by Eriksson Ek in the final minute. Otherwise, they missed the playoffs. You got to get off to good starts in this league. The team that I'm also telling you I think is going to be pretty good is St. Louis. I look at their lineup just this morning. I think Robert Snuggerud has been with Robert Thomas since the minute he landed in St. Louis. Has not left his side, and he looks poised to have a big year. I think Robert Thomas is going to pop as a superstar this year. Dylan Holloway, if he's healthy, could get 90 points. I mean, this is a pretty decent team. And then obviously we've seen Binnington win big games before, both in the Stanley Cup playoffs and obviously in the Four Nations last year. So I think the Blues are on the rise.
Who are you picking? Way early. We haven't even played game one for the Wild season, only a couple of games of the regular season under our belt, but you got the two-time defending Cup champs in the Florida Panthers over there in the East, and I know that's your favorite team to ever grace the earth, but they're missing Sasha Barkov here for a significant amount of time. Who's your favorite to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup come next June?
I have a feeling Vegas is going to do it. I know that last night they weren't great defensively. I know Aiden Hill wasn't exactly terrific last night. They definitely blew that 5-3 lead. But Eichel and Barbashev and Marner looked incredible last night. I think Dorofeev is a star in the making, had a hat trick last night. And the other thing here, and I know fans are going to just freaking get pissed off at this, but with Petro out and his career potentially over, they get $8.8 million, the full $8.8 million in cap space. And last night they looked to me to have a blue line that is very thinned out, but now they have $8.8 million to play with. And I just think at some point we know that the boldest GM in the league, who is Kelly McCrimmon, will figure out a way to fix that situation. And now he's got the weapon to do it with that cap space. So I just think that even the product that we saw on the ice last night of Vegas, which was a pretty exciting game. That game against the Kings was tremendous. They're going to figure out a way to really fix their issues this year, and I just think they're going to be a really good team and a tough out.
I can't imagine there's more than a couple of people across the great state of hockey that don't know about The Athletic and your fine work there. They do great work on all sports, but especially hockey and especially the Minnesota Wild, led by you and Joe Smith. If they wanted to get a subscription to everyone's favorite blog, how would they get their hands on what is The Athletic and theathletic.com?
You go to theathletic.com/wild and click on a story, and you can get probably a discount even by going if you're a first-time subscriber. Or theathletic.com/Russo probably gets you in too. So Really appreciate that, Kevin. Aaron Sickman wants me to tell you to check your voicemails.
Oh, boy.
Apparently you never check them.
Okay. I will give that a listen.
Unless I don't understand what he's saying. He also said that you had some big meeting the other day that you were worried about.
Don't worry, but I don't know what he's talking about, and it's just fine. That's Sickman. You know what? After 25 years, I think he's gone bonkers. He's got bats in the belfry. Tell him to just concentrate, do his own job. I'll do mine, and everything will be fine.
Yeah. Keep up the good work, Blakemore. Really good job, Brett.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy skate. We'll talk to you tonight.
All right, see you, Kev.
Michael Russo of The Athletic and TheAthletic.com. Have you, Brett Blakemore, got off your wallet and gone to TheAthletic.com/Russo and got your fill of America's favorite blogger?
Well, after high praise like that, how could you not?
Without a doubt. Oh, what a guy. Let's take a break, and then I want to squeeze in Brett Blakemore's breakaways. And before we wrap up the show, we're going to hear from former Wild forward Cal Clutterbuck. He's hung up the skates. He's in front of a television camera, and he's our exclusive NHL Insider. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to hear more of your talkbacks as well. Still giving away tickets not only for Saturday when the Wild host the Columbus Blue Jackets, but Game 3 of the regular season and Monday's Game 2 of the home schedule when they host the LA Kings. Send in those talkbacks. We're giving away tickets as we roll forward on the Fan.
Before we go, the Fan and 2 men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword bills for this hour. KFAN.com, keyword.
From the beautiful studios of St. Louis Park, Kevin Falness in for Paul Allen and Eric Nordquist this afternoon on KFAN. I should say this morning, leading into this afternoon, which is going to lead into the regular season opener for the Minnesota Wild. Tonight they'll be in St. Louis. Pregame at 6:45. Puck drops at 7 o'clock right here on FM 100.3 The Fan to talk about not only the here and now with the Minnesota Wild, but the glory days. Our good buddy Cal Clutterbuck joining us now from Long Island. Cal, it is always great to hear your voice. How are you, my friend?
I'm very, very good. I'm actually in Pittsburgh getting ready for the Isles opener tonight.
That's
doing
right.
that on TV, so.
That's right.
I'm in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Good for you, the Steel City. How exciting is it to not only drop the puck on a brand new season? You're a guy that did it for a number of years in the National Hockey League, but a little bit different this year as a guy that's going to be behind that TV camera.
Yeah, it is different. I as I boarded the plane yesterday with the guys who are on the team and playing, and I've got a couple recently retired former teammates who have taken roles that require them to be on the plane. Sitting at the front was a little different than sitting at the card table, I got to tell you. But it's good. It's kind of nice to be kind of back into this routine of traveling. And like you said, the beginning of the season is always the most exciting time for every team and every fan of every team because, everyone has the same opportunity to go out there and try and have a great year and ultimately win a cup. So it's a very exciting time for hockey fans and players and staff alike.
Yeah, I know. We talked last spring on Beyond the Pond here, right here on FM 100.3 The Fan, about your new gig and moving on from the playing days, hanging up the skates and doing this TV thing. Are you enjoying it? And I guess it's still very early, so everything's fun when you do it once. But now that you're getting into the routine, are you digging the process? I know what it's like on the radio side, and it's a lot more relaxed. TV, there's a lot of people talking in your ear. You love to comb your hair, but you got to comb your hair, wear makeup, and all that stuff. Are you enjoying everything that goes into the process of being on television?
Yeah, I am. I think there is a lot, but what was good for me is I kind of took a guest appearance at the home opener last year for the Islanders, just kind of not expecting anything. So I wasn't really trying to do well. So I've kind of maintained that attitude and just, for me, I enjoy watching the game, talking about the game, and for me, that's kind of what it really is. And the more time you spend on TV and getting prepared, it gets a little easier. But I just enjoy being able to, relay a little bit of information that I may have from my years of experience to, an Islander fan base or a fan base, a visiting fan base that might be listening to the game. And I like just being able to point things out to them that they might not otherwise see or might not otherwise understand. And I really enjoy that part of the job, and I've got a great crew, that I work with at MSG Networks. They're, everything we do is pretty streamlined, and we don't spend too much time on things that don't require too much time. So it's been a really fun process for me, and just being able to kind of stay in the game. And I think I underestimated how much I would miss the routine in the game when I first decided to hang them up, and this has been a great sort of filler for me, a transition into what is now becoming a second career. But all of it put together just seems to be working at the moment, and I'm going to keep doing it until I lose the joy, as they say, and then we'll look for something else. But at the moment, I'm really enjoying it.
Talking to former Wild forward Cal Clutterbuck, if you can believe it, a third-round pick by the Wild back in 2006. 6 seasons with the Minnesota Wild from 07 to 13, but 17 years total in the National Hockey League. You flourished. You were great here in Minnesota, but what you did there on Long Island was unbelievable, the career that you were able to put together. I want to talk about your memories and even talk about what's going on there in the Eastern Conference with your beloved Islanders here in a moment, but is tonight going to be especially difficult when they drop the puck on a new season? It's one thing to hang up the skates and go through all that emotions, but there's something special about opening night. And as a player, it takes on a whole nother meaning. You're not going to be a part of that in the same way that you've been for so many years. How tough is that going to be to swallow when you're in the broadcast booth, instead of there on the red line?
Yeah, it's kind of justification for me that I made the decision at the right time. I'm totally fine with it. I'm excited to be a part of it in a different way. I think if I was just sitting at home watching, I might feel a little more of that. But I really think that I did what I could while I was playing, and it was probably time. And between that and the opportunities that are presented to you when your contract comes up after 17 years, you kind of you look at all the things that go into the opening day of the season, all the summer training, the training camp, all the difficult things that you have to do. I was in my head just ready to go and take a break. And so it's exciting for me here. And on Long Island, right now, it's an exciting fresh start. Obviously, Lou Lamoriello is no longer here, and Matthew Darche comes in, and Matthew Schaefer. And really, over the course of the summer, there was a lot that happened with the Islanders that doesn't normally happen in summers, especially when, a team has missed the playoffs and in a long off season. Usually it gets pretty boring, but there was a lot going on here. So it's an exciting time for Islander fans, and Matthew Schaefer making his debut tonight. He's been amazing through the preseason, so very excited to be able to be a part of that call tonight.
Yeah, what'd you see from the number one overall pick in Matthew Schaefer? I know the upside looks tremendous, unbelievable future for this kid. How do you think he's going to be as he splashes onto the NHL scene?
Well, he has a level of maturity. I think it's been well documented. That is unlike most 18-year-old kids, and his abilities seem to match. His confidence on the ice kind of carries through off the ice. So his ability to, and his eagerness to learn from not only the guys around him, but the guys who are no longer playing. I know he talks to Matt Martin a lot. Him and I have had a couple conversations. He's just a really eager kid, and a lot of kids who are in that position with that much attention sometimes don't have the same sort of mentality of this is my first step. I'm excited to be here, but I need to, take in information. I want to learn. I want to learn how to be. And, he just has that future captain sort of personality, and his on ice abilities are pretty evident. I think, NHL fans will get to notice him pretty quickly. His skating ability is elite. He's a defenseman, but he loves getting up the ice. I think the thing I love about him the most is when he makes a D-to-D pass in the neutral zone, he's on his horse, and he's, sometimes the first guy in the forecheck. Probably he's going to take some harnessing to figure out when the right time is and when it isn't. But I think for a young guy, for him to have the confidence to be able to go up there and get up in the rush, and he's really going to create a look that the Islanders haven't had from the back end in a very long time, probably since the Minnesota native Nick Leddy days, where Nick could be a one-man breakout and get up and create odd man rushes with his speed and still be the first guy back. And similar to Brent Burns when he was first a young kid playing defense. He was, a forward and a defenseman, so he had a tendency to get up there and be involved. And I think that just the NHL these days is such a 5-man offense league that you need defensemen that can skate, you need defensemen who can make plays, and you need guys who are willing to get up there and have the ability to recover if things don't work out. So he has all those things, and I'm sure he's going to make his mistakes like anybody does, but I think his ability and his confidence are enough so that the Islanders are going to be able to put up with those mistakes, especially early on.
Dude, you better hope your buddy Biz Nasty, that you never lose the joy. You're a natural. This is unbelievable. You were playing 2 minutes ago, and here you are. You're ready to take down Paul Bissonnette there on the on the national stage. You're a natural at this thing.
Well, I do love the game, and I spent years while I was playing studying it because I was put in a different role in New York than I probably was on the trajectory for in Minnesota, and I really leaned into it. I got lucky. I mean, I had 2 line mates that were not only great friends, but we were such a great fit as a line, and I really, the 3 of us kind of took it upon ourselves to add a dynamic to that Islander team that a lot of teams didn't have, and in doing so, I think we've kind of really kind of revolutionized the way people looked at their fourth lines. We still had a lot of physicality, and Marty obviously was able to take care of business, in the fisticuff side of things. But we were able to go out there and play against other teams' good players and really make it difficult on them and allow, our best players to go out there and play against, take offensive chances playing against lines who weren't as productive offensively and maybe weren't as talented. So that really gave us an advantage, and in doing so, you really learn the nuances of the game. I had a couple great coaches along the way, and I was always just a detailed person, and I think that's really why I was able to play for as long as I did, because I really thought about, I was very thoughtful about the way that I would go out there and play the game, and as much as people think I was just kind of a run around body checker, which I probably was in Minnesota, I really I took some time to learn the game on a deeper level, and I really just like thinking about the game and talking about it, and so hopefully I'm going to have a platform to do it for years to come.
Yeah, good for you. You're off to an amazing start of your media career. 17 seasons in the National Hockey League. That doesn't happen by accident, and it's awesome to think that it started here in Minnesota. Real quick to the Eastern Conference, we like to think of the Central Division as the toughest division in hockey, but then I look over at the Metropolitan Division where your Islanders reside, and I know that the expectations are great for your team coming into this season. But when I look at, they got to deal with an up-and-comer like the New Jersey Devils, the Carolina Hurricanes, which are a beast every year. The Capitals still with Ovechkin, the New York Rangers, they're always going to be a tough beat. And then some of the other teams that are coming through there, I mean, the Penguins still have Sidney Crosby. You got the Flyers, the Blue Jackets. That is a tough division. And as much as we like to talk about the Central, the Metro is not an easy target either.
No, I think you're right about the Central. I think it's developed into the premier division, and the Metropolitan was for years. When I was, in the meat of my Islander career, the Metropolitan division was as tough as you're going to get. But what the benefit of playing in a good division, and if not the best division in hockey, is that you need to you spend the regular season playing almost what people would call playoff hockey, or else you don't make the playoffs. And so what happens is over the course of the year, you get better, and you get better quicker. And if you don't get your chance at the playoffs. So when the playoffs do come, those divisions are always more prepared, and you see those teams kind of making long runs. And that's how it was for us in the Metro. I just really enjoyed the level of competition. And then on top of that, when you go play teams in other divisions, potentially teams that are a little weaker, you're able to win those games, and a lot of times win them convincingly, and have what we used to call low stress, no doubters in the league. If you can just get to that point, then you're going to have a really easy time making the playoffs. So in a lot of ways, a tough division is a good thing for a team, especially a team that has the ability to compete in that division. So, I think it's a good thing. And, the Metro being what it is, it's not what it used to be. But there are some teams sort of making their way through. The Carolina Hurricanes, obviously very good year over year. The New Jersey Devils really depends on if they can stay healthy. They've had issues with injuries, and when they're not injured, they they've had great seasons, 100-point seasons with the crew they have there. And the Islanders and the Penguins and a couple of these teams that Washington did it last year, I think they did a really good job of revamping with their old veterans, injecting some youth and some speed into their lineup. They had a lot of success with that. Obviously riding the coattails of Ovi's magical run last year towards 895. But, I think for the Islanders, the thought process is now how do we take the guys who are in their prime and marry them with the young guys that we've been able to pick up through the draft and free agent signings and formulate a team that's going to, compete in this division.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it all develops there in the Eastern Conference. The focus over here is about the Western Conference and the Wild heading into game number 1 tonight in St. Louis. 17 years in the National Hockey League. Again, we're talking to former Wild forward, former Wild draft pick, Cal Clutterbuck. 17 years in the NHL, the bulk of it there with the New York Islanders, but 6 glorious seasons began your career here in Minnesota from 2007 to 2013. Had you on last spring, had you recount a little bit of that, but as we enter the 25th season of Minnesota Wild hockey, tell me there's not a special place in your heart for when you donned the ice here at what was then XL Energy Center.
Yeah, I mean, what a great place to start a career. I look back on those years with a lot of fondness. I love my time there. I wish I could have played there a little longer. It's just a great place to live first and foremost. And that hockey team, as you know, is supported so well. And so honestly, I think you go around to different markets and you see teams that go through years where they're struggling a little bit for a couple of years and the fan base starts to disappear a little bit. The rink isn't as full. That just wasn't the case there. And I just loved the energy that building brought, and it brought out a lot of energy in me. And I love being able to go out there and make people cheer and give them something that, that they can enjoy. I was going to go out there and work as hard as I could and try and bang some bodies and score some goals and, just play hard. And I really enjoyed my time there when I got drafted there and finally made the team. I really felt like I was going to be there for my whole career. Obviously that didn't work out, but, 25 years of Minnesota Wild hockey, I can't, where does the time go? I felt like, it was just, still an expansion franchise. Had that feeling when I moved in there, but, the team was pretty good. And then, we had a couple of years where we didn't make the playoffs, and then I was out. But it's really is a great place, and everybody that's played there since and has played there before me, I feel shares my sentiment. So hopefully it's a great 25th anniversary season. And I was talking to our old buddy Aaron Sickman. I'm thinking about maybe coming out there for one of those games, one of the alumni games, and maybe pop my head in there and see some old faces and try and enjoy a night or two.
I hope you do. This coming weekend, Saturday night, the inaugural coaching staff is going to be here. Jacques Lemaire, Doug Risebrough from the management side, Mario Tremblay, Mike Ramsey, Bob Mason. They're dropping the puck on game number 1 of the home season, and it'll be cool to see those faces. I can't wait to see yours. You're in Minnesota. You got to stop by, and we'll have you on the air with myself and Tom Reed, and hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that.
All right, Clutter, enjoy the game tonight. Good luck in Pittsburgh. Good luck this season. I hope they put your makeup on right and you get that hair combed just perfectly.
Oh, I do all that myself, but you know that. I'm not letting anybody touch my face with his hair.
Go get him. Thanks for doing this. We'll talk soon.
All right, bud.
There he is, the great Cal Clutterbuck. Oh, I really wanted to get into the Eric Belanger story when he and Derek Bugard filled his car with styrofoam peanuts. I've never flat out asked him about it, and I wanted to see how far down that road he'd go, but I'm out of time. I got to take a quick break, and then we'll squeeze in Brett Blakemore's breakaways till the top, and we'll reward another couple of tickets to the home opener Saturday when the Wild host the Blue Jackets. But tonight, it's game number 1 of the regular season coming up from St. Louis. You'll hear all the action on The Fan. Horrible clock management, but hopefully the last 3 hours make up for this sprint to the finish. We had a blast. We talked to Cal Clutterbuck, Michael Russo, Joe O'Donnell, Pat Micheletti, and a bunch of other folks in between. We also gave away a bunch of tickets. You might be getting a text from me. You may have already got it for a pair of tickets for the home opener come Saturday when the Wild host the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hopefully you won those tickets. If you didn't, wild.com/tickets to get yours. And at the very least, hopefully you're on the air tonight with us at 6:45 pregame for game number 1. Duckies and bunnies, rainbows and unicorns. The future is bright, and it starts tonight in St. Louis. Brett Blakemore, thank you for your time. Good luck the rest of the day, and thanks for listening to KFAN.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.